Parashat Chayei Suru Tov Shiem Pai Hai. B'siyata Dishmaya, today's shir is going to be learned. L'schus, l'refiyah shaleime, for the soldier Eitan Usher ben Devoire, l'refiyah shaleime b'mehayru, b'niyom en ber ben Chana, l'refiyah shaleime b'mehayru b'soich shachoy liYisruel.
Amen. Amen.
I also want to mention that there's going to be a lavaya in an hour about of a choshev that was nifter yesterday, an elderly Yid. His name was Rabbi Yosef Phil Brachfeld. He was nifter, I think, at the age of 100 about. Younger shouldn't go. Yeah. And his name is Leili Nishmas. It's still before the Kvire. Leili Nishmas. Yosef Phil ben Reb Cheskel Shrage. And the Shuma Zeruv Man Aliyah. Parashat Chayei Suru. The beginning of the parsha is Avram Avini. Sorry, Emuna was nifter and he's looking where to bury her. Then the parsha goes on that Avram Avini sends Eliezer to find the shidduch for his son Yitzchok. So first I want to start something regarding shidduchim. And even though what I want to say is better said in Yiddish, but we could still understand it in English also. Once someone told me regarding shidduchim that what do you need in a boy that should make a good shidduch? He should be a good husband. 3 things. He should give and give and give. In Yiddish they say geben, geben, geben. In the beginning I thought that what it means is to give and give and give, like we say in the name of the Chibiner Rav. It said that he once answered someone that asked him why he should be looking for a shidduch in a boy, and the Chibiner Rav answered him 3 things. The first thing, he should have midas toivus. The second thing, he should have good midas. And the third thing, he should have midas toivus. Meaning to say, one thing that you have to look, they say in the name of Reb Chaim Kreisvit, that he said the main thing to find in a boy is a leif toiv. He should be a leif toiv. Surely the same as also if you speak regarding a girl, probably, but they were asked regarding a boy, so that was what they answered. You see, I think that the Chibiner Rav once answered that in Posik we see 1 mile when a person comes and he says, "Es biti nasati leish hazeh." It doesn't say, "Es biti nasati letalmid chochem hazeh, leguen hazeh, lechosid hazeh." Leish hazeh, he's a man. He's a man, he has manners. Lo ilam yehudam. So I thought in the beginning that this is also the definition of this saying, give and give and give. But then he explained me, no. In Yiddish, there is geben means to give. But then there's a word, it's called fargeben. Fargeben means to forgive. To be seleach, moichel. Forgive, fargeben. Then there is nurgeben. Nur is like also mean like afterwards. It means to give in, to be mevatir. Nurgeben. So he said you need all the 3 gebens to give. And with all the giving, you have to be able to forgive. And you also have to be able to give in. So the 3 givings that you need in order to make life, b'siyata d'shmaya. So then I said, the Pasuk says by Adam Rishon, Adam Echava, Ochor v'kedem tzartoni. Chazal explained that in the beginning, Adam and Chava were created as one person, as one guf, and one side was Adam, and one side was Chava. Ochor v'kedem. Kedem was Adam Rishon, and Ochor was Chava. Then Hashem took the tzeilu and created from that Chava by herself. So in Yiddish, they call Ochor means noch, like afterwards, and Kedem means before. So together with the giving that you have to give, you also have to have the Ochor v'Kedem, the after and the before. Fargeben, forgive, and nurgeben, to give in. Then you have the whole set. So I said maybe that's why they say in ve'ya gefen, be'in ve'ya gefen, dover nu'em eskabel by a shidduch. Gefen is Rosh Tevis geben, fargeben, and nurgeben. That means to give, to forgive, and to give in. So that's, in that case, it's in ve'agefen, bin ve'agefen, dover nu'em eskabel. In the beginning of the parsha, when Avram Avini is looking for a kvire for Sarah Emuna, and he wants to buy the Moras HaMachpelah. If you look in the psikim, it's a little bit interesting. Avram Avini comes, and first he goes to the Bnei Ches. He wants to buy Moras HaMachpelah from Ahron. It's Lamasa not far from here. When I came here, I saw Kiryat Arba, the Shilut, Mamish this. It's gewaltig. You feel mamish the Parshi is. Vayukum Avruam al pnei Meisoi. Vayidaber al bnei Ches leimoi. First he goes to the bnei Ches and he tells them, Gei v'soisha v'noichi yemochem. Tunu li achuzas kever yemochem. Ve'ekpuru meisem milfonai. I want to get an achuzas kever. That's a part of land. How do you call achuzah in English?
Plot.
A plot? A plot for a kever. Achuzas kever yemochem. Because I want to bury my meis. Ve'ekpuru meisem milfonai. So they answered in Bnei Ches, Nisia lekemata b'sechenu. B'mifcha kvareinu, you could choose out the best of our kvarim. Kvoidas mesech. No one is going to key back from you his kever if you want to bury over there your mace. Avram comes and he tells them, Im yeshas nafshem to bury my mace, I would ask you should go and ask Ephraim ben Soichar, he should give me the Maras Machpelah that he has in the end of his field. Bekesef mola yitnanili. Besoichechem, I want you should give it to me bekesef mola besoichechem lachuzas kever. I want to have it as a plot for a kever. What's the besoichechem? Bekesef mola yitnanili. Besoichechem lachuzas kever. Afterwards also, he goes on, and Ephraim tells him, and then it says like this. The pasuk says, "Vayokom stay Ephraim asher b'machpelah laAvram lamikne la'ene bnei Ches." He bought Avram Avinu, he bought the stay Ephraim asher lifnei Mamre. It went over to Avram lamikne. Then it says, "Vayokom asode v'amor asher boi laAvram lachuzas kever meiz bnei Ches." So did he buy it from Ephraim? Did he buy it from bnei Ches? What's the pshat? So there's a lot of pshutim. I want to say what it says in Rashbam and the Chizkini. You see it over there, Bekitzir, but this is what they mean, and it's very, very poshut. Avram needed over here two things. First, he needed to buy the shetach where the Maras Machpelah was. It should be his. Now, after he buys it, to allow to bury over there, you need permission. How do you call it? You need permission from the Iriyah in order to be able to make it. If you have a plot, and you want to make it for a plot for Kvorim, you need, how do you call it? Ishur.
Taba.
A taba. You need to get a taba for that, and Ishur. And for that, he needed the Bnei Ches for that. So that was what he did over here, gewaltig. Avram Avinu started off first, he went to the Bnei Ches. And he tells them, Tenuli achuzas kever. I need a plot that should be eligible, I should be able to bury over there. I have an iftera, sorry, Ameni. So first they didn't understand, and they tell him, you need an achuzas kever. Whatever there is already, till now, kvorim, you could choose out the best one. B'mivcha kvoreini kvoidas masechu. No one is going to keep back from you whatever plot you want to use for Sorei Emenu. Avram Avinu tells them, no, I want you should ask for me by Ephraim ben Soichar. He should give me the Maras Machpelah that he has bekesef mola. Besoichechem lachuzas kever. From him I want to buy it, but I need your permission in order to make it for an achuzas kever. That's the pshat posik. V'yitali es Maras Machpelah shaloi bekesef mola yitnenoli. He's going to sell it to me. But besoichechem lachuzas kever, I need it should be with your permission in order to make over there an achuzas kever. So they went, and that's when the posse goes on and he says, Vayokom stay Ephraim, Lavram Lamikne, he bought it from Ephraim for 400 shekel kesef oivel asoichir. But Vayokom asode v'amor ashaboy Lavram lachuzas kever meiz v'nei Ches. In order he should be able to make over there lachuzas kever. That was the permission that he got from the Bnei Ches. So he needed two things, to buy it, and then it should be a permit to make over there an achuzas kever.
Vayakam Asada. Now the Sada was elevated to a different, level.
It was changed. It changed. Yeah, it was changed.
Abraham wanted it because Adam was buried there, right?
Yeah.
So technically, it was already zoned for a burial.
Gewaldig. You ask a gewaldige kashe. Adam and Chava were buried over there, so it was interesting. But could be, look, in Medrash it seems that that Ephraim didn't know what's going on over there. Right. Whenever they used to go in, it was like choishech over there, and that's why he wanted to get potter even from it. You know, they say that we learn Kiddushin. The Gemara in the beginning of Masechta Kiddushin learns, for where do we know that a person could be mekadesh isha with kesef? We learn it from the posik ki yikach ish isha. And ki yikach means kesef. Why? We learn from this week's parasha, nosati kesef asode kach mimeni. So the Gemara says, kiche. Over here we see that kiche refers to kesef. Nosati kesef asada Avraham tells Ephraim, kach mimeni, take the kesef from me. And over there it says, kikach ish isha. So how do you make a yikach with kesef? Shtar we learn out from a Gezerah Shove. It says, the cost of Lasei increases, that's by a get. And the Yotze v'hoisa, we are makish avaya liyitziyah. Like you can make yitziyah where the shtar, you can also make kedusha with the shtar. And biyah is the pasuk, kikach ishisha, iva eleya. But kesef is from kiche that we learn from Stay Ephraim.
What is the exact lashon mean of kiche? It refers to money.
Yeah, because it says the pasuk kikach ishisha. Yeah, kiche means to take. Kikach ishisha means when a person is going to take a isha. How does he take a isha? So Chazal say, how do you take her? We see in another plats over there in this week's parsha that Avraham Avinu took the karka. How it says nosati kesef asode. Ephraim tells him kach mimeni. Meaning to say, you take from me the land through the kesef asode. So we see, how do you take? With giving money you take. So we learn that kedushin could be with kesef. Kiche. So the Baalei Musar say that it's also a limit. Usually by a shidduch, everyone thinks to himself, oh, I got the better part of the deal. Because a person knows his own chisroinus, his own, how do you call it? Failures. Shortcomings, his own shortcomings. And he sees only the other person, only the good chalukim. So he always says, wow, what I got, what I'm giving. So the same was by Stay Ephraim. Avraham Avinu knew what Parashat Machpelah is. 400 shekel kesef is a bargain deal for getting Parashat Machpelah. And Ephraim, on the other hand, this is a piece of land. I can't do with it anything. Whenever I go in this Mara, it's the worst that could be. And Baruch Hashem, I'm potter of it. So Kichem is the Ephraim. Likewise, the Ephraim, everybody thought that he is getting the better part of the deal. That's how a shidduch should go. Everybody should always think that he is, Baruch Hashem, the one with the shortcomings, and seeing the other fellow only the good chalukim.
It's good shalom bias advice.
Yeah.
That's why he needed it rezoned, because he didn't want to alert anyone of what's actually there.
So this is what I'm saying regarding what he was asking. Probably Ephraim didn't know that Adam and Chava. If they would know that Adam and Chava are buried over there, it would probably be the best place. Yeah, Adam and Chava were the two that were created by Hashem himself. Yeah.
Back then, do you think they were aware of? They remembered who Adam and Chava were? Was there there must have been some kind of history keeping, but at the same time, it's already far down the line after Noach. So far
after a Mabul.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now the pasuk says, "Vatoma Sora bekiryas arba hi Hebron be'eretz Kenuam, vayuva Avruam lisped lesora velefkoisa." Avruam came to be maspid Sora and to cry about it. Lisped lesora velefkoisa. Now the word velefkoisa has a small kuf. If you see in the pasuk in the Chumash, the kaf of velefkoisa is a small kaf. Why? The Balatirim says because he only cried a little bit. He didn't cry too much, Avraham Avinu. Why? If he brings down a few times. One time because she was already an elderly woman. A woman of 127, you can't cry too much. Oilam kimenogenoyik. World goes on. That's how everybody knows. You reach the age and you have to go. It's not such a gewaltige tragedy. So that's why the bechiyah was a little bit. It was only with a chuf, small chuf. I saw in a sefer Birchas Hoirai. Someone Schlesinger gave it out from Williamsburg. He's a Papa Nechasid. He wrote a sefer Birchas Hoirai. So very nice time. He brings that the Medrash in Yalkit on Eishes Chayil, in the end of Mishlai, the whole parak of Eishes Chayil, the Medrash says, who said this capital? Avraham Avinu said the whole capital on his wife Sarah by her Levaya. The hesped that Avraham Avinu gave on Sarah was the whole Eishes Chayil. And the Medrash is matbra over there, every pasuk referring to Sarah. So this Schlesinger in the Sefer Birchas Hoirai writes very nice. What's Oiskov? Eishes Chayil goes by the Aleph Bais. Oiskov is Kappa Parsa La'oni V'yodeya Shilcha La'evyon. This refers to Tzedakah, Gemeles Chesed. That was the symbol of Avraham Avinu and Sarah. Even though they were big in all Chalukim, they were tzaddikim in every part of that could be that you need an avodas Hashem, but their main symbol was Chesed. Lashon HaChazal is Midas HaChesed Mizgalgul Ba'olam B'schis Avraham Avinu. The whole Midas HaChesed is Mizgalgul Ba'olam B'schis Avraham Avinu. So Avraham Avinu when it came to this pasuk by Kappa Parsalaoni, for sure over there was a big chaylik of the hesped by saying, till now I had the help of Sora Yemeni. We see in last week's parsha the three malachim came by Yemar Avram Oyalu Al Sora Mari Shloishim Kamach Soiles, and whatever she did, she was part of the Gevaldig Achlus that went out, that went in that house. So he says the reason why the Kuf is clean, because he meant to say this ois of Kuf that refers to Gemilas Chasodim became now smaller. This is what he sees. Because I don't have the help of Sora Yemenu, so the Indian of Kappa Parashat Oni v'Yadeh Shilchel Evyoin is going to be now smaller. That means the opposite. He cried a lot that this Chaylik of Sora Yemeni, everything, I'm missing everything in the whole Aleph base. But by the Ois Chuf, over there he was more crying by saying, this part became small because I don't have the help of Sora Yemenu. I have to do all the chesed on my own. Be'emshich in the parsha, Avram Avinu sends Eliezer to find the shidduch for Yitzchok. And Eliezer makes the simonim to find which is going to be the perfect match, the perfect shidduch for Yitzchok. And the pasuk says, regarding Rivka, it says that Va'anaro toivas mare ma'oid, Besula, she was still a girl, V'ish lo yada. Rashi explains what it means, V'ish lo yada, but I want to say another pshat. I think they say it in the name of the Holy Strelitzky. Strelitzky said like this. We speak this week about Shiddichim. Says that when Chazal say that when a person before he is born, they are machriz bas ploini leploini. This girl should go to. It's interesting. They don't say the boy of him should go to the girl of him. When they speak about the husband, they call him by his name. When they speak about the girl, they say bas ploini. Bas ploini should go leploini. That's why we could also understand. Before I come back, I reminded myself that in this week's parsha, Rashi also brings that when Eliezer said, "Ulai lesoiva isha leleches acharai," maybe she won't want to come. And Rashi brings that the word "ulai" is without a vav. The second time when he repeats it to B'si al and it says without a vav, because you could read it also a lie. He really wanted that Rivka shouldn't come, so he should be able to take Yitzchok as his son-in-law. He also had the daughter Eliezer, and he very much wanted that he should be his son-in-law. So he says, Ulai is a lie. So Rashi says, Pas oisoloi Eliezer, and he very much wanted that Avram should be Meshadach himself for him. And what did Avram answer him? Beni Baruch, va'ata Orur. Ve'ein Orur medabik bebaruch. My son is the Baruch. How do you call it Baruch? He is gebenched, blessed. And you're cursed, you're Aru Canaan. So a Aru can be Medabik be Baruch. It's also interesting, it should have said, Beni Baruch, and your daughter is Arur. Not Ata Arur. Or it should say, I am a Baruch, and you are a Arur. So we also see that when it comes to the boy, you speak about himself. So he says, Beni Baruch, my son is Baruch, because he himself. When it comes to the girl, he refers to the father. So he says, Va'ata Ari, you're the father of the girl, so you're the one that's Ari. So we see by Shalichim it always goes, Bas Ploini, Le Ploini. So now they say in the name of the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh, that when they call out Bashamayim, Bas Ploini, Le Ploini, it's not always that it goes straight. They only call out one name. Bas Ploini should go Leploini. Sometimes it starts like this. They call out Bashamayim Bas Ploini, for whom? Now, comes a Malach and he suggests a Shidduch and he says Ploini, and Bezdin Shamala thinks about it and they say no, not good. So then another one comes and he suggests another name, Ploini, and then a third one and a fourth one, till they decide on one name, yeah, this is the perfect Shidduch and this is what. So now the Baal Shem Tov says all of those names, all of those names that were suggested by the Shidduch, you also have to be matzia all of these Shidduchim in order the right match should come into into the Metzias, yeah, it should become this Shidduch. You need first all of those, because they have epis anachize in this neshama. They have an epis connection because it was suggested this Shidduch. So you have to take away, how do you connect? By being it matzia, how do you say matzia in English? By presenting, offering. Propose. By proposing this Shidduch, there's a little bit of a connection. They were proposed, and then, all right, they could depart one of the other, and then they come to the right Shidduch. So in that case, all of the Shidduchim that were read, that were proposed, so they say even a story that the Tzanzerov had the minik, whenever someone came to be Matzia Shidduch for one of his children, even though the Shidduch didn't come out, didn't come to fruition, how do you call it?
Yeah.
It didn't come to fruition. He used to give for the Matzia, for the one who proposed the Shidduch, he used to give him a rental. That was a matbeya, a silver coin. Once a Yid came to collect money in Tzanz, and it wasn't too much matzliach. So someone told him a good aitzi, go over to the Rebbe, be matzia pes Shidduch for one of the children, and you're going to get a silver coin, you're going to get a matbeya. So he did so, he went over, and he was matzia someone. He didn't. So the Rebbe didn't give him anything. He was very disappointed. Why didn't the Rebbe give him? So that Tzanzerov explained to him, I don't give stam a silver coin. When someone comes and he proposes a Shidduch, and it makes sense, so understand that even though that doesn't come to fruition, this Shidduch, but it makes sense, probably this Shidduch was called out also by Shemayim, and even if it didn't come to fruition, but it makes us closer to the real Shidduch, because by proposing all of the Hatzuas that were read by Shemayim, you get closer to the right Shidduch. But what you proposed, no Malach had even a half a minute to propose that Shidduch. So what's the reason I should give you a silver coin? So they say, I think, in the name of the Streliske, that this is also the Pshat in the Posik, Rivke, where she was born specially for Yitzchok. Rashi brings down last week, after the Akaide, Avram got the idea, you should know that Besiel and his wife, they gave birth to a child, Rivke, and she is the one that's Meyued, Besiel Yola, that's Rivke. Rashi says that the whole Psikim, Avram was Maharer, that my son isn't married yet. Bishlei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shenoildo Rivka Bazigo, she was born the Bazivik for Yitzchok. So she was born only specially for Yitzchok. So no one even had the Havamina to be connected to her neshama. So she's a Besula, Ve'ish Lo Yedua. No one even knows her, no one has any connection to her neshama. She was only rightly proposed only for Yitzchok.
I guess in this case there was only one option. Usually there's three options, the good one, the middle one, and the bad one.
Yeah. In the middle of the parasha it says, V'Avram zoken bo bayomim, v'Hashem be'elech es Avram b'koil. What's the definition of bo bayomim? Avram Avinu came, Pashtus means he was already an elderly person. You see in the Hebrew, they say a person that's already over the age, 78, he's a bo bayomim. Because we learn it from Avram Avinu, zoken bo bayomim. But the Chassidus Forum explained the bo bayomim means he came with all of his days. A person takes with himself Torah mitzvahs. This is what a person, how do you call it? He carries. He carries with him all of his mitzvahs and masim toivim. Now a day that passed, the day is over. There's even a Mamar HaChocham that says, Odom doeg al ibed domov, ve'eino doeg al ibed yomov. A person is worried about the money that he is losing out, and he's not even worried for the days that pass by. He's being ma'abed his days. He's losing his days. Odom doeg al ibed domov, ve'eino doeg al ibed yomov. And the Mamar HaChocham goes on by saying, Domov einam oizrim, the whole money that he has won't help him. Yomov einam choizrim, the days aren't coming back. Domov einam oizrim, Yomov einam choizrim. The biggest loss that could be is by losing time. There's a Mamar HaChocham, Ein Aveda ka Avedos Azman. There's no Aveda like losing out time. Now, how could you carry time? How could you take along with you time? By doing mitzvahs and masim toivim, something nitzchias. So the po'ola that you did, the mitzvah, is nitzchias. So also the time that you did it also stays l'netzach netzuchim. Because Avram Avinu fulfilled all of his days with Torah, mitzvahs, and masim toivim. So he was bo bayomim. He came with all of his days. I once heard from my father, Shlita, he said, the Chazal say, Ad Avram lehoyo zikna. Till Avram there was no zikna. Poshet pshat, it means that you didn't become old by your look. Even though you became old, you didn't look old. And Avram Avinu was the first that asked that because Yitzchok was so alike to him, people didn't recognize who is Avram, who is Yitzchok. So Avram asked Hashem, should make him look older. So like this, people are going to see and recognize this is Avram and this is Yitzchok. So Ad Avram lehoyo zikna. There wasn't such an idea of zikna. He was the first that asked that should come zikna. But my father told me maybe it could be another pshat. Till Avram, no one actually came with so many days. Avram was 175 years old. People maybe lived 1,000 years, but they came up and they calculated all of the days, all of the mitzvahs and masim tovim that he did. It added up maybe to 20 years, 30 years. There was no zikna. Avram was like the first one in his madrega. Avram was the biggest. The first madrega that he lived 175 full years, Ad Avram. So I saw once that the Ponim Yofos, it's in this week's Parsha, brings an interesting thing. We say by the Yerotzim before Tehillim, we ask that Hashem shouldn't take us away from this world before our time comes. Ad melois shenaseinu behem shivim shana. Till we're going to fulfill our years, 70 years. Like the David HaMelech. We say Tehillim, the Tehillim of David HaMelech, so we ask, we want to live at least like the years of David HaMelech. Ad melois shenaseinu behem shivim shana. David HaMelech says so in Tehillim. How does it say in Tehillim? Yemei shenaseinu behem shivim shana, v'im b'gvurois shemoinim shana. So the Ponim Yofos asks, what should do a person, a Yid, that he's already 70 years old, 75, 80? Should he say, Ad melois shenaseinu behem shivim shana? Or he should say something else. Maybe he should say 120 years. And why do we only, even a person that's young, why shouldn't he ask 120 years, only till 70 years? Actually, if you're going to see a Mata Ephraim, that's on Hilchas Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the Sefer Mata Ephraim, from Ephraim Zalman Margolius, he brings down in his Sefer, when he speaks about saying Tehillim Chodesh El Rosh Hashanah, he refers to this Yerotzen, and he says, you shouldn't say that Nisach. You should say, Ad melois shenaseinu, ba'ariches yomim v'shonim toivos. And you can see in today's days a lot of Tehillim that they changed Take. Ad melois shenaseinu, ba'ariches yomim v'shonim toivos. But the Ponim Yofos says, no, you can leave that Nisach. Because the definition of this tefillah is we should have 70 full years. He says, Alavai, in 120 years, we should have 70 full years with full of mitzvahs and masim toivim. So melois shenaseinu means our years should be full. Shivim shana alavai. Avram Avinu, he was a zaken, bu bayomim. He came with all of his days. Shu zaken bu bayomim. Yesterday was the yahrzeit of the Havas Shalom. The Havas Shalom, his name was Rabbi Menachem Mendel from Kosov. He was the son of Rabbi Yankiv Koppel, Rabbi Yankiv Koppel Chosid. He was from the Talmidim, from the Bnei Achola of the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. And he had the son of Menachem Mendel. He was the first of the dynasty of Kosov, Vizhnitz. And he wrote a Sefer Havas Shalom. He speaks very much in his Sefer about Shalom, but he also speaks very much regarding Shabbos. He is full about speaking about Shabbos Kodesh, his Sefer, Ahavas Shalom. He brings down in his Sefer, Ahavas Shalom, last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha by the Akedas Yitzchok. Avram Avinu calls his son Yitzchok, Vayomer Ovi, Vayomer Eneni V'ni. He brings down over there that the neshama of a person, that's the ikar of a person. The guf is only like a holder for the neshama. So when a person gets a name, the ikar of the name, who is called with this name, his neshama is called with this name. And that's why he says, when a person sleeps and you want to awake him, sometimes he could make a lot of noise and he wouldn't awake. If you call him by his name, he wakes up. The easiest way how to awaken a person is by calling him by his name. Why? Because the name is actually the name of the neshama. So when he sleeps, the neshama goes up. You want to pull it down back. By calling him by his name, you're like calling back the neshama, and he wakes up. And he says, that's also regarding Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos is such a holy oilim. In the oilim Yisrael Yoilim, there's an oilim that's called Shabbos. And when you want to bring down the shefa, by calling the name, V'karos ala Shabbos oinig, by calling it out Shabbos, you bring down the shefa. And that's why Chazal say, when a person goes into be mevaker echoyle, Chazal say, Anechnes levaker es echoyle v'Shabbos, he says, Shabbos ima lizoik, erefu ekroi v'lovoi. What's the pshat? Because by him calling out Shabbos, Shabbos, and Shabbos is such an oilam, that over there and that oilam is full, it brings down what we say in the Zemiris, Tzeroira de la'elo de veicha yechoyle. Shabbos is a Tzeroira de la'elo, and in this Tzeroira de la'elo de veicha yechoyle, all the chayim, all of the Hashpuas Toivis is included in this Tzeroira de la'elo. And you pull it down by calling it by his name. The name is Shabbos. So by saying Shabbos im alizik, you pull down the refuah kroi v'lovoi. So he says that's why Chazal say also, Matona toiva yeshli bebeis genozai v'Shabbos shemo. So he explains, there's a Matona toiva bebeis genozai, and the name of it is Shabbos, and by calling Shabbos, that's why he says, you should say Shabbos, Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbos Kodesh. It's not stam saying Shabbos Kodesh. You awaken the oilam upstairs, that Shabbos, and you're pulling it down, and you're getting connected to this oilam. And the whole shefa comes down from this oilam. Kol b'rechuan de la'elu v'sato, the Zohar says, b'yoyim v'sheviyu Italian, all ashpues, all broches, elyoinim and tachtoinim, everything is tolu in Shabbos Kodesh. And by calling out the name of Shabbos, you awaken it, and you bring it. It should be showered upon yourself, the gewaltige ashpues of Shabbos Kodesh. This is what the Ahava Shalom says. Beautiful. And I once saw in a sefer, he brings down on the posik, Nos and Titan, it's a Parashat Chayei. When the posik speaks about tzedakah, it says, Nos and Titan loy, v'lo yeira levavchu besitchu loy, ki beglal adover azeh yivrechechu Hashem elekechu. He says an interesting thing. He says a lot of times a person, an oni, a pauper comes to collect money for tzedukah. And you give him an amount that, according to your achlota, this is the right amount to give him. And he is not happy with it. And sometimes he can even throw it back to you. And he says clearly, I want more. I want double. Now, usually, people in such a case, they get, how do you call it? They get frustrated. Frustrated, that's the right word. They could get frustrated by saying, come on, I gave you what I think is normal for me to give. You're not happy, so they don't want to give him any more. But if a person is a gewaldige Bal Midas Toives, even though he threw him back and he wants more, you give him more. And he says, for that tzedukah, you get such gewaldige shefa from Hashem, because it's not only the tzedukah, you worked on your midas, you worked on your ego. You're the one that's giving, and he's like making fun of you, and you're being mevater and still giving him. So he says like this, that's the pshat in posik. Nosen titain loy. What's the double lashon? You gave him once, and he's not happy. He wants you should give him another time. You should give him a better nesina. And you don't have a bad heart on him by giving him, because even though you could have had, because he was the one that threw it back to you, and you won't do that. Hashem is going to give you gewaldige ashpuas by going in this way. Noch geben. Oh, very good. What you said at the beginning. You gave in the beginning, and now you forgive on what he did, and you give him another time. Oh, yeah, David's gewaldig. I say, good. Till when? After by the Shidduch from Rivke, it says in Posik, Vayan Lovan lebesiel. Both of them answered to Eliezer and they said, Vayoimru, Mashem yotza adovar, lo nichal daber alechu ra'oi toiv. We can't say anything. We see that this Shidduch is from Shamayim. And Rashi brings down Vayan Lovan and Besiel. Rashi brings down, why does it say Lovan before Besiel? Rashi says, Rosh Hoyu. Lovan was a Rosh, Vekofats Lahoshiv Lifnei Uviv. He jumped in and he answered before his father. Because it should have been Vayan Besiel Velovan. The father is Besiel, not Lovan and Besiel. So Rashi brings down, Rosh Hoyu, Vekofats Lahoshiv Lifnei Uviv. He jumped and he answered before his father. Now the interesting thing is the only place where we see Rashi Taka writes about Lovan is a Rosh, by this pasuk. We could see, if you want to speak about the riches of Lovan, you could write books about it. Rashi had to find this Rosh Hoyu. It seems, Pashtis, that this was a riches that wasn't Mekubal. How do you say in English Mekubal? It wasn't accepted. It wasn't accepted even by the Goyim. Even by the Ramuim, even by the Noichlim, even by Goyim, they are not righteous people. To answer before a father, Kibbadav, was still something in humanity, in those days at least. So, if he was the one that jumped in and he answered before his father, Rashi screams out, he was a Rosh. Now, why did he do it? If that's the case, that Lovan knew that what he's doing is so not right that even by the Goyim it's not accepted. And Rashi is going to write on him Rosh Hoyu. So why did he do it? Why didn't he wait for his father? So I once saw someone as being masber gewaltig. Lovan Lemaisa didn't want the shidduch. He didn't want that Rivka should go and have chasana to Yitzchok. We see that Besiel tried to put in poison into the food of Eliezer. He should die. The Malach came and he exchanged the food, and that was when Besiel died because he changed it around. They didn't want the shidduch, but they couldn't fight Siriol if they see him Hashem Yotzad over. So he thought, Lovan, Chazal say by a shidduch, you should always be boidik ba'acheyuem, the brothers of the wife, because most of the children are doime to the wife's brothers. Roiv bonim doime la'acheyuem. So he thought, I'm going to show Eliezer what a rush. I see that what I did till now wasn't enough for Eliezer. He is still wanting this shidduch. Even though he sees who Lovan is, he still wants to go on. Maybe if I'm going to show him my big riches, he's going to say, all right, this is already too much. He's off the borderline, and he's going to regret of doing the shidduch. So that was why he did it. But Lamaisa, why didn't Eliezer accept? Why didn't he see that it's... Because Eliezer made the cheshm that Rivke, once she is going to be like a gersh in his guy, so he doesn't have any connection, she doesn't have any connection to her family. So that's why he didn't mind to go on, even though with the shidduch, because it's not considered achayuem. Rivke is Rivke. She was actually born by this mishpocha, but by coming into the house of Avruam, leaving back all of her family, she's like cutting off with her family, and it's like a gersh in his guy, but I think you could also say a little bit different. The pasuk goes on, and then when they say to Eliezer, maybe Rivka should stay with us another year or 10 months, Yomim or Yasoir, and then Eliezer tells them why. Hashem etzliach darki. So they say, you know what? Nikra lanara. Let's call the girl Rivka. V'neshalo aspia. We're going to ask her what she says. And what did Rivka say? Vatoime, she said, Eilech, I want to go. And Rashi brings down, Eilech ma'atzmi. Even if you don't want, I'm going to go. Interesting. Rivka should speak that way. She is still a young girl, 3 years old. Maybe Rivka understood. She saw what her brother Lovan did. He came with such an amount of chutzpah in order to show Eliezer what he is a mechutzif. So maybe Eliezer shouldn't want the shidduch, and she did want. She came and she showed Eliezer, look, chutzpah could be used also in good purposes. We see in Chazal, chutzpah fila klape shemayim mahanye. Sometimes chutzpah could even help, even if you know how to speak to Hashem, if you want to be ma'oire the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael, sometimes tzaddikim use with the midas achitzpah in order to be ma'oire the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael, chutzpah fila klape shemayim mahanye. It helps even klape shemayim. So she showed for Eliezer, look, my brother has chutzpah, I can also use chutzpah. But I know where I went to use it. Eilich, I'm going to go, even if you don't want, because I'm going to use it in the good way. For the tzaddik dish, I'm going to use it.
Holy chutzpah.
Only chutzpah, yeah.
Also totally separates herself from her brother. Her brother was trying to keep her there, and
Yeah, that's the pshat eilich. I'm going to separate, and let's say if I have in my DNA a little bit of chutzpah, so I'm going to use the chutzpah for the good part. Eilich, I'm going to use it for the good part. I'm going to finish with this, that in the end of the parsha, when Rivki comes back to be the wife of Yitzchok, it says in Posik, "Vayetze Yitzchok lasuach basode lefnois erev." He actually went out then to daven basode lefnois erev. It was before night. Mamish before night, that was when Yitzchok went to daven minche. And what did he go to daven? He went to daven for a shidduch. And right away, the shidduch was already in the middle of the way, arriving already. Eliezer was coming with Rivke. Now, the Gemara says in Masechta Yume, the Gemara says, "Saloise da Avraham mechi meshach rekosle." When did Avraham daven minche? Minche gedoyle. 12:30, that was when Avraham daven minche. That's what the Gemara says in Masechta Yume, in the beginning of the third Peirik. If I remember correct, it's Daf Chav Ches, Amud Beis. Maybe Chav Tes, but it's in the beginning of the third Peirik. What's the pshat? Minche is already, from Chatzos, you could daven minche, because it's not boiker, it's like the second half. But you can only start a half an hour afterwards, because Avraham davened mincha when the walls start making a cell on the floor. How do you call it cell in English? A shadow. When it starts making a shadow on the floor, and that only starts by 12:30. The Gemara is masber why, because the walls of the Beis Hamikdash were at the bottom, they were wide, and they were going up and they became thin. So even though usually if you would have a straight wall, a few minutes after 12 you could see already a shadow, but when the wall is wide at the bottom, until you see a shadow on the floor, it's going to take a longer time, because you need the shadow should be on the floor, and it falls on the wall alone. So it takes like a half an hour. So to 12:30, that's when in the Beis Hamikdash was Minche Gedoyle, and that was when Avraham Avinu daven Shachris. Tzloise da Avraham mechi meshach rekosla. When the walls make shochoy, they make a shadow, it's like dark. They make. So Toisves Mesechta Brochus, in the beginning of the fourth Peirik, Tfilas HaShachar, the Gemara says over there, Avraham was Mesaken Tfilas Shachris, Yitzchok was Mesaken Tfilas Minche, Yaakov was Mesaken Tfilas Meirev. Toisves asks, Yitzchok was Mesaken Tfilas Minche. We see in the Gemara Yume that Avraham used to daven Minche. He used to daven Minche Gedoyle to 12:30. How could you say Yitzchok was Mesaken Tfilas Minche? Toisves in Masechta Bruchos answers, after Yitzchok was Mesaken Minche, Avraham also davened Minche. That was what Toisves says. Yitzchok was the one that was Mesaken Tfilas Minche, and after he was with Mesaken, his father said, "Wow, that's a good idea. I was Mesaken Shachris. You ate Minche, I'm going to start davening Minche." But we see an interesting thing. When Yitzchok is Mesaken Tfilas Minche, he makes it Lefnois Orev. He made it like mamish before the nightfall. That's Minche Ketane. And Avraham Avinu comes, and he takes Minche, and he takes it for Minche Gedoyle. I thought maybe could be why. Avraham is the symbol of Zrize Magdima LeMitzvahs. We see that we learn Zrize Magdima LeMitzvahs from Avraham Avinu last week. Vayashkem Avraham Baboiker Elamokem Asher Omat Shom. That's the pasuk that refers when Avraham was Mesaken Tfilas Shachris. It's the day after Sodom was turned over. It says Vayashkem Avraham Baboiker Elamokem Asher Omat Shom. From there we learn Tfilas Shachris, and we also learn from there that Zrize Magdima LeMitzvahs. So Avraham Avinu, he sees his son was Mesaken at Tfilah of Minche, and even though his son only davens Minche before the Shkiyah, that according to the Zohar HaKodesh, that's the better amount to daven minche, not to daven minche gedoyle, just to daven minche ktan, according to the Zohar HaKodesh. But Avraham Avinu has his symbol, his koyach of Ziz Magdim LeMitzvahs. He says, all right, you could daven before the Shkiyah, but I want to do it already mechimeshach rekostle. But if you want to think in, we could say even more than that. Avraham Avinu, he is called the Zohar HaKodesh Boiker. Vayashkem Avraham Baboiker. Boiker shows when it's light. You see clear the Yad Hashem. Everything is clear. Everything is shining. Avraham Avinu comes and he davens then Shachris. He brings in the koyach in Klal Yisrael take from the shiny days, from the clear, good zemanim, times, take along that Hashem is with you always. Yitzchok comes and he's masakin at tefillah lifnois orev, when it's starting to become dark. Don't forget that Hashem is with you. Yaakov is already masakin tefillah smayrev. It's choshech. Erev shows irbuvye. You're all confused. It's so dark. It's so confusing. And even though you should find yourself standing before Hashem and remembering that He's with you all the time. So it was bechalukim. Ahron was masakin when it's light. Yitzchok is masakin lifnois orev. And Yaakov was masakin mayrev when it's already dark mamish. Choshech. Now, Avraham Avinu thought maybe if a person only davens in the morning, let's say 6 o'clock in the morning, then he's going to wait till Lefnois Orev, and not only regarding the days, I'm also speaking regarding a matziv. If you only daven when it's very light, and then you find yourself Lefnois Orev, it's too a big change. Who knows if you're going to be able to keep yourself even in such a matziv. So Avraham Avinu comes and he says, Yitzchok, you made the Gavaldige Tefillah Lefnois Orev, but I want to attach those two tefillahs. I'm going to make Mechim Shachri Kosten. Right after Chatzois, it starts a little bit to become dark. I'm going to then daven your tefillah. So that's like going to be connecting the Shachris of the Boikir. I'm going to bring it in to Mincha Gedoyle, and therefore you're going to be connected afterwards to Lefnois Orev. And then the tefillah of Yaakov, that's how all the offers are masaking the tefillahs. We should be able to always to be connected to Hashem, so we should be able to be zoiche, to have all the good b'siyata d'shmaya. Amen. Amen.